OP runs away, meets a girl on a train, and a life-changing encounter happens. 14 years later, the unbelievable happens. When I was 15 years old, I ran away from my home because I was upset at my parents for a reason I can't remember. I didn't have much money, so I decided to hop onto the SkyTrain, public transport train in British Columbia, and ride it as far as it would go. I reached the end of the line in less than an hour and decided I wanted to ride it all the way back again, while trying to formulate some kind of plan of how I wanted to live the rest of my life without my parents or anyone. At the last stop, or the first stop depending on your perspective of it, a girl came on and sat in the row right behind me. I didn't pay much attention to her at first, as I was busy writing my life plan on a napkin. It was a few minutes later that she got up and came to sit next to me, curious as to what I was writing. I told her the story, and after a few laughs, we began talking about everything and anything. Her name was Amanda, 17 years old and absolutely wonderful. She told me she was getting off at the last stop, which was also the first stop, depending on how you look at it. It was also the stop I had gotten on originally, and I told her we would ride it together. The train took less than an hour, and what a wonderful hour indeed. When the last stop did come, we both knew we probably wouldn't see each other ever again. This was before the days of cell phones, and I was a shy little kid afraid to make moves. As we got to the end of the sidewalk, which split in two different directions, she went right and I went left. Before saying goodbye, she turned to me and asked me a question that has become a wonderful part of my life. She asked me, "Tell me something you have done or want to do that you think I should do. It can be anything, as challenging as you want it to be or as easy. As long as you give me the rest of my life to complete it, I promise I will do it." I was confused as to why, but I thought about it, and I told her, "Sing a song a cappella in a room full of strangers." She said perfect, and asked me if I would like a challenge as well. I told her I did, and she told me, "Read from start to finish Ulysses by James Joyce." I had never heard of it at the time, but I agreed, and we said our goodbyes. I have an awful memory and can't remember most conversations I have with most people, but I remember all of that very clearly. You know why? Because of the challenge she gave me. In the past 12 years that have passed, I have tried to read that book in over 150 different sittings. Every time I open my copy of the 780-page monster of a book, I always think of her, and I always think of that day. I've never been sure if it was her intent or not, but she left her lasting memory on me with that challenge. I soon after learned what she did was a complete, wonderful, and amazing thing for me, so I decided to keep it going. I've met a lot of strangers in my life, some that have become friends, and some, due to living in different time zones and whatnot, didn't. I don't want to just have experiences and then let them go. I want to remember these meetings and embrace the fact that they happened. So whenever I leave someone who has left an amazing impact on my life, I always make sure to add to them Ulysses' bucket list. I ask them to give me a challenge, as difficult or as easy as they want it to be, and regardless of the fact that they have done it or not, simply something their heart has had always wanted to do. Some have been easy and fun. I met a man in India 9 years ago who told me to, for a week or a month, cook/buy twice as much food as I intend on eating, and give the other half to a stranger in need. I completed that mission 8 years ago and thought about that man and the time we had all the way through. I met a girl on a cruise 6 years ago who told me to jump into a body of water on a slightly cold day without touching or feeling the temperature of the water first. I did that the very same year. I met a couple at an outdoor music festival a few years ago that told me to wear the most bizarre outfit imaginable and walk through a public place completely oblivious to the fact that you aren't looking normal. I did that task the very next day at the same festival. Some have been difficult, to say the least. 3 guys I met in Amsterdam and smoked all night with told me to go to a mall and give 10 strangers 10 presents. That one took a lot of courage, but I did it a year or so after I met them. It was nerve-wracking, but at the same time exhilarating leaving my comfort zone. A girl I met on a plane told me to skydive. I'm still in the process of getting that one done. A couple I met in Cali on the beach told me to tell 5 people I hated the most that I love them and respect them. That one was very difficult because of my stubbornness, but I've come close to completing that list many times. Still in the process, 2 more people to go. And some things have had an everlasting impact on my daily life. I met a girl at a music festival who told me that whenever I get mad at someone, walk away, sing my happy song in my head for 5 minutes, go back to the person I'm mad at with a calm heart and mind, and work things out. I've made this my way of life. I once met a man at a gym in a hotel I was staying at that told me, Whenever your body and brain tells you that you are exhausted and done, use your heart instead and push out 2 more reps. I've made this my motto when working out or working on any kind of extenuating exercise in which my body demands me to quit. I also use it while working on anything and while studying, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received. There are many others that each brought joy to my life. There are still many tasks I have yet to accomplish, and every time I think of these tasks, I think of the people that gave them to me. It amazes me how well I remember all these people. While I can't remember so many aspects of even yesterday, these experiences, not only do I take them from a mission or a challenge, I also take from them a memory of them that never fails to appear inside of my mind. I opened my Ulysses book for probably the 300th time yesterday and read a few pages, which prompted me to share this story with you today. I'm in the final 30 pages of the book, also known as the most dreaded of the read. In the last 40 pages or so, James Joyce doesn't use a single punctuation mark, no periods, no commas, no nothing. A straight 50-page run-on sentence. I never saw Amanda after that day, nor do I know if she ever did get a chance to sing a song to a room full of strangers. But what I do know is that she gave me a gift that has never once stopped giving. So wherever you may be, thank you for giving me the Ulysses bucket list. And I swear I'll finish it one day. My life advice? Simple. Create your own Ulysses bucket list. Edit. Monday. Update. I'm kind of lacking words at the moment and am in awe of the power of the universe. Writing this story was just to relive a moment in my life and to share it with others and maybe help them in some sort of way, or just give an entertaining story to read. Never did I think there was the slightest chance I would actually get to talk to her again, but that's exactly what happened. Last night I found out that the Amanda that guy who ate knew was in fact the Amanda I met 14 years ago. Thank you, Reddit. From the bottom of my heart, I give to you the sincerest thank you I can possibly give. You gave me a chance to continue a life story that stopped writing 14 years ago. I will never forget this. Update, 8 days later. I'm kind of lacking words at the moment and am in awe of the power of the universe. She replied to my email. Her pics matched the face of the girl I remember, and her side of the story matches exactly as well. Now I know that Reddit loves proof somewhat, so here is her first response to my email I sent her. It's not much, but that's all I can give you. Friendship is about trust, and I just met her again. I can't go around posting her emails on an open forum like Reddit. Please, out of respect for her and me, don't email me asking for her pics or any other information of that sort. I'm sure you all understand. Sometimes the world and the universe seem so significant that you, in comparison, start feeling small. I can't yet put into words how thankful I am to all of you for reading my story, upvoting it for visibility, and helping me find that guy who ate, who in turn led me to her. It blows my mind when I really start to think about it. She lives in Georgia now, so it's unlikely I will get to see her again. But, as this story is proof, weirder things have happened. Thank you, Reddit. I will really never forget what you did for me. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Additional update. For those of you asking, she sang in front of strangers a few times, but that wasn't the challenge. The challenge was to do it a cappella. I think it's kind of beautiful in a way that she hasn't done hers and I haven't finished Ulysses, still 30 pages away. I told her maybe one day we could Skype and I could read her the last page of Ulysses and she could set up her cam in a bar or coffee shop somewhere and just start singing. We'll keep you all posted of and if we do finish the original 2 list items. We do have the rest of our lives to complete them. I'm kind of at a little bit of a loss of words at the moment. I mean, the story's very beautiful. It's amazing and I love to hear it, but I'm kind of fascinated by this perspective. Because usually the philosophy would be that you can always get something from somebody. Like they can always give you advice and you can always learn something from someone regardless of their social ladder or their intelligence or whatever, right? But the idea of not only asking for that, but to have a challenge is a really unique bonding experience. And I love the way that these are like just 2 ships passing in the night, but they exchange, try this and you try this. And you remember that, and it creates such a beautiful moment. And I'm really in love with this idea. I'll have to take more time to think about it later. But yeah, I would love to try and incorporate that more into my life. What a beautiful way of living life. And you know what? My challenge to you is to go out and hug somebody today. Doesn't have to be a stranger. Could be your family member. Could even be yourself. But it has to be today. Show some affection. Also, speaking of that book, he was talking about 30 pages of endless run-ons, no punctuation, commas. Dude, try reading some Reddit stories. Story 2. My wife, 38-year-old female, told me, 39-year-old male, that she doesn't love me and never did. How should I proceed? I overheard my wife telling her friend that she doesn't love me and never did. She married me because she was pregnant and thought that after giving birth to our baby, she might fall in love with me, but that never happened. When her friend left, I immediately asked her about it, and we had an emotional discussion. She didn't deny it. She told me the same thing she told her and said that it's true. That's how she feels. I asked her why she married me then. She said she'd rather marry a man she doesn't love but who treats her right, with respect, takes care of her and her children, than a man she loves but who is a fool, incompetent, or lazy. I was shocked and hurt. I asked her what she thinks about our marriage, and she said it's the marriage she always wanted. To our credit, our marriage is really good. Respect is everything, so we never overstep each other's boundaries, and when we have a problem, we figure it out as a team. She never cheated or did anything like that because she respects me too much, respects our marriage, and loves our children. Her words, not mine. She also said she knows it's the same on my part. I told her I'd like some time to think about it, and she said to take as much time as I need, assuring me she isn't going anywhere and will accept and work on whatever I decide. I don't know what to do. I'm hurt and confused. So I've been living a dream marriage with a woman who doesn't love me one bit. Basically, she's settled for me because I was the best option at the time. To her credit, she's been an amazing wife and mother to our kids. Boy, 9 years old, girl, 11 years old. I have no doubts about her. She never cheated or hurt me in any other way. She is hardworking, always honest, and is a good role model for our children. I've been thinking of some things I could do. Maybe marriage counseling, but our marriage is one-sided in the love department. I love her with all my heart and she knows that. I don't know how marriage counseling will help because it won't change her feelings towards me. I don't want a divorce. I love her. Our marriage is amazing, and our children have parents who are really there for them and who, if I can humbly say, are good role models. To sum it up, my part of the marriage is completely filled with love and respect, while hers is entirely based on respect alone. Minor edit. She earns more than me, so she isn't with me for my money. We have been married for 12 years and have known each other for about 15. I would like to add something here that I've answered in the comments. We started as friends, then became friends with benefits, and over time we evolved into what we are now. I was her only FWB. She had many friends, but I was the only one with benefits. Her ex-boyfriend treated her very poorly, so I think that might have affected her to some extent. Update. I apologize if this post gets long. I will provide more context to our situation and do my best to get the important things quickly. I went through most of the comments on my first post and wrote down some questions I wanted to ask my wife. I also figured I'd talk with her a few more times before bringing up marriage counseling, only if we can't find common ground or fix things ourselves. Like I said in one of my comments, I thought about a small trip over the weekend, just the two of us, no children. We could relax, have a proper heart-to-heart discussion. So, I decided I'd take her to my grandparents' house. It's remote, surrounded by fields, forests, and there's even a river close by. It's pretty much a holiday house when you want to leave the city and spend more time in nature. She loves nature, so I thought it's a good place. I would be lying if I told you that I wasn't anxious and really worried about asking certain questions and the implications of those questions. I decided to ask, even though I was fully aware that it could be painful. We left our kids with my parents and departed. She pretty much knew the purpose of this trip from the beginning, so in a way, it was easier. When we got there, I didn't want to have a discussion immediately. I wanted us to spend some time together. We went for a walk in the forest, did some light work in the garden, took some pictures, and I made her dinner. I also made her a bouquet of flowers I found in the fields. After we had dinner, I brought it up. I told her that what she said a few days ago really hurt me, and that I would like her to share her feelings about me and our marriage so we can at least find middle ground. I also told her that I really didn't like her sharing that with other people before talking to me first. She apologized to me and said she would explain. Basically, her friend is having problems in her own marriage. She's been married for 2 years and wondered how our marriage is so stable. She and her husband have a dynamic of fighting with each other one day and loving each other the next. My wife and I have never had a fight. We've had many disagreements, but we've never hurt each other, at least not until now. Eventually, she got to the problematic part and asked me if I had heard what she said after that. I said no because I really didn't. I overheard it when I entered the house to pick up some things I needed and then left. I was also zoned out and didn't pay attention to what was going on around me after hearing that. She explained to me that she never experienced that love with me. She thought it would get better over time, but it never did. I asked her why she didn't explain that when I asked her that day, and she responded by saying that I was emotional and whatever she could have said made it worse. She pretty much understood that whatever she said would have come across as an attempt to make someone feel better or forced. That's why she left me alone. knowing that we would have a talk about this. She was right. I then asked her some of my questions. Not all of them, because most of them got answered, but I was interested in these. What does she feel when she sees me? What happens after our children grow up? Did she ever feel that love towards somebody else? What will she do if something happens to me? She said that she feels at home. So she does love me and loves our marriage, but she isn't in love with me. When she sees me, there are no butterflies or fire that makes her want to jump on me and rip my clothes off. She feels at home. As for our children growing up, nothing changes. We will still care for, help, and guide them. She explained that over the years, she had felt attraction towards certain men, but it quickly faded. When I asked her why, she said that even though she was initially attracted to them and they showed interest, something always felt off soon afterward, which is why she removed herself from those situations. I asked her if she was never into me, why she slept with me and not her other friends or other guys. She had plenty of friends, and as I mentioned in my first post, I was the only one with benefits. She explained that she felt safe and comfortable with me, something she never felt with anyone else. We became a thing after she broke up with her boyfriend. She opened up about the relationship, saying that he had been physically and emotionally abusive. This was the first time she had spoken about him. I had asked her about her first relationship many times before, but she always brushed it off, saying he wasn't worth mentioning due to how horribly he treated her. She said that she wouldn't want to be anywhere else but next to me, and that she would take care of our children. At that point, I really felt bad about everything, and the whole discussion made me sad. I would really like her to go to therapy. I think she still carries scars from all that abuse, especially emotionally, and a proper therapist could really help her. Relevant comments. User 1. What I'm getting out of this is that she does love you completely, but she doesn't know that it's real love. She may have been used to the kind of dramatic, tumultuous partner who abuses her and then love bombs her, and have come to know that as love. But she has chosen every day to be with a loving partner and a good parent, even when presented with alternatives. Her sense of love is screwed up, but her actions speak louder to me. Definitely try and get her into therapy. I'm sorry for the way she thinks about this, it must be killing you. But I just don't think it's true. She does love you. I hope I'm right and that you can come to an agreement. I wish you both the best. OP. I felt the same, and that is why I think it would be really beneficial for her to have a talk with a therapist. I will always be there for her and I will always listen to what she has to say, but I lack knowledge and experience in order to help her with this. The thing that's killing me is how long she has been in this state. She can't sort out her feelings and emotions. Even during our talk, I always felt that her feelings are misplaced and all over the place. I will talk to her and I will encourage and support her in getting professional help. OP on when someone said they would walk away from the situation. Like I said, I don't want to search for something I might never find. I've seen so many marriages and relationships fail because of love, with cheating and abuse being the most common, especially cheating. My wife isn't perfect, but she isn't a cheater or abuser. Our marriage is stable and safe. Our children have everything they need, stable and good parents, which is most important to me. My purpose in life is my children, and if I have to suffer for their good, I have no problem with it. But I'm not suffering. I'm doing well. That sounds like a very tricky spot to be in, having your wife and the mother of your children say that, I don't love you. But like that comment said, I mean, her actions speak way louder than her words. To stick by, to not I guess she doesn't love, but she treats him with love and care. So it depends on your definition of the word love, I guess, at that point. Like if you do all the things right and you think about this person in such a way, like to call somebody home sounds like such a loving sentiment. And to have children with them and you're sleeping with this person, of course there's some attraction and maybe her libido or whatever isn't as high as the guy wanted, so he's like, well, she doesn't want to jump on me and take my clothes off, but we love each other, or I love her. But yeah, she sounds like a great mother. She sounds like she genuinely cares. They put each other first, their thoughts and their feelings, they communicate well. It really might just be a skewed definition of love at that point, because she sounds like a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother outside of that perception that she doesn't feel like she loves him. So what an interesting spot where you almost feel so loved, because obviously he would have to feel that way for them to be together for however many years it's been. You would have to feel loved. So what a weird spot for you to be married to somebody for so long and have this beautiful relationship, and they go, oh, no, I don't actually love you. Yeah, like we sleep together and I care for you and, like I want to take care of you and be with you for the rest of my life, but I don't love you. This would be like such a mind-boggling thing. So it's definitely something to sort out. I would honestly like to hear another update because I'm curious on how that goes. But I guess at the end of the day, if she, okay, in quotes, loves you and respects you, and it sounds like they got a great relationship, there's not really anything wrong. But therapy's good for everybody, so get in there, sort your feelings out. Still hard though. Story 3. Am I the butthole for apparently ruining my cousin's wedding? My cousin, 28-year-old female, and I, 26-year-old female, are incredibly close and practically like sisters. We've shared everything from our childhood memories to discussing our love lives. I've always been there for her, offering a shoulder to cry on whenever a guy broke her heart. She is getting married this December. In my country, everyone pays for their own seat at the table. I've been in a committed relationship with my boyfriend for 4 years, and we're eagerly planning our future together, including getting married after we finish out these. Despite our close bond, my cousin has never met my boyfriend in person, only through video calls. I've extended invitations for her to visit and meet him numerous times, but due to her busy schedule, she's never been able to make it. Conversely, I've made the effort to travel to her city and meet her boyfriend. We are eagerly anticipating the moment when they could finally meet at her wedding, and we had even discussed it during our last conversation. We had dreams of traveling the world together, making plans and continuing to be the inseparable duo, now 4, we've always been. However, my excitement was abruptly shattered when my mom received a call from my aunt, my cousin's mom, delivering unexpected news. They decided not to invite significant others of family members to the wedding due to budget constraints, while still allowing the partners of her friends to attend. This decision felt like a slap in the face, particularly after all the anticipation we had shared about her and her partner finally meeting mine at her wedding. I couldn't shake the feeling that this decision was made to avoid upsetting her friends, some of whom had let her down multiple times in the past, and that they take me for granted. The news left me feeling devastated. It wasn't just about not being invited anymore. It felt like I had lost a piece of my family. All the plans we had made together suddenly evaporated. While my boyfriend wasn't angry, he understandably questioned the value of investing in future vacations with someone who hadn't even invited him to their wedding. Additionally, it hurt even more that my cousin didn't have the courage to tell me herself. Instead, she had her mom relay the message through mine. When I expressed my disappointment, some family members, particularly uncles and aunts, accused me of ruining my cousin's wedding day by speaking up. They argued that it was her day and she had the right to do as she pleased. However, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. While I understood weddings are expensive, my boyfriend had even offered to pay for his seat, as is customary in our country. So, am I the butthole for speaking up? Edit. I'd like to add that I'm particularly hurt because my cousin didn't tell me herself, though we spoke on the phone yesterday morning and she knew she was not inviting my boyfriend, and that my aunt was going to call any day to deliver the news. Yet she didn't say a word about retracting the verbal invitation. Posting this here because I want to see both sides of the problem before speaking directly to my cousin. I don't want to act out of anger without getting perspective. Relevant comments. Can you offer to pay for his meal/seat? Yes. In my country, everyone pays for their seat. Everyone. People actually gain money in weddings if you take into account that we pay for our seats and then give presents. It's just that they have to pay up and then on the wedding day, they recover the money they lost. Elaborate on that. Yep, the bride and groom text us a bank account. It can also be given by hand, and you deposit money there. Usually you pay the seat, which is a closed price. It doesn't depend on what you consume, plus some more money as a gift. The price is firstly assumed, but everyone ends up kind of knowing. Her aunt will tell someone who will then tell someone else, and at the very end, most people know. What country? I am in Spain. This is something new that started only a couple of years ago. You are expected to cover your own seat. I don't know if this is done in every part of Spain, but I've had to do it in every wedding I've attended. It is strange and insulting, I agree. What did your cousin say when you spoke to her? So I talked to my cousin yesterday morning and she didn't mention it, though she surely knew she was retracting the invitation. My aunt called my mother to deliver the news yesterday night, quite late, so I haven't had the chance to ask her about it. Everything broke havoc because I told my aunt that I felt hurt with that decision, and my uncle and aunt, who are visiting, heard me and said I was ruining everything. I plan on talking to her this week, but I wanted to post this here to see both sides of the problem. Thank you for your answer. Maybe she just wants people she knows there. My cousin is inviting people she has never met. I specifically can think of 2 boyfriends she had never ever seen, but they are her friends' partners, so they can go. The wedding is in December. My cousin and I talk every week, including yesterday morning, when she could have told me. I heard from my aunt yesterday at 1 freaking a.m. which is a great hour to call, I know. I do think my cousin had enough time to tell me herself. Just bring him to where she is and introduce them. She is currently in her home city, and I'd need a plane. She usually lives in Madrid. I'd have invited her over to my town, which is 2 hours again, a lot of times. She's never wanted to come. I don't find it appropriate to just arrive at her house and knock on the door, though maybe that's what I should do? Are you sure your aunt didn't make it up and force her daughter to go along with it? It may be, but my cousin could have told me yesterday morning, even just to tell me that it was really my aunt's decision. We really have an excellent relationship. She knows I am a reasonable person and would understand her. Thing is, my cousin is not organizing anything from her wedding, not even the wedding dress. Everything is being handled by her mother. My cousin says she doesn't want the stress. My aunt has always been quite jealous of me as I found a boyfriend quite earlier than my cousin. They are those kind of desperate people who need to have a man by their side at all times. But I would be quite shocked if my aunt had made this up. It isn't like her. I will have to call my cousin to confirm though. Stop karma farming and communicate with her. I want to fix the situation. I don't even know how karma works. But I love that expression, karma farming. Not being sarcastic, I actually chuckled. The reason I asked here before talking to her is because I really do love her very much. She is an extremely sensitive person. I've seen her crying because she couldn't decide on going to a place or staying home. I wish I was exaggerating. I am, right now, quite disappointed and angry, but I don't want to risk hurting her if I was being unreasonable, especially after some family members said I was ruining the wedding by speaking up. Cue my question here to see what other people thought. Are you in the bridal party, and what do you mean by partners being invited? 1. She isn't having one. She is extremely conservative and hates bridal parties. I think that if she did have it, I'd 100% be on it. We really have a very good relationship. I'm also helping her with some things like the makeup. I'm even in charge of her makeup on that day as well. She asked me to think about how she can wear it and to do her makeup that day so she wouldn't have to pay for a makeup artist. I agreed. 2. I meant boyfriends. I know for a fact that there is no limitation regarding the space. I have been in that place and I know it's massive and can host more people than the ones she has invited. Maybe I am being dramatic. I'll think about it. Thank you for your input. Update post. 4 days later. Long story short, my cousin uninvited my boyfriend from her wedding out of the blue without giving a plausible explanation and not even calling herself, but sending her mother to tell my mother, who ultimately told me. I was judged as not the a-hole. So I had a conversation with my cousin a couple of days back. It seems like it was a mix of her own decision and her mother's influence. Long story short, she is considering making an exception for my boyfriend, but she couldn't confirm yet. She said she wouldn't know until last minute. However, my aunt informed my mother that they had collectively decided not to make any exceptions. Now, either my cousin or my aunt is not being truthful, and I'm leaning towards my aunt. Here's how it all unfolded. Right from the start, I could sense her nervousness. As you may recall, my aunt had informed my mother that they weren't including cousins' boyfriends in the guest list due to budget constraints. I knew this wasn't the real reason. Their financial status is more than comfortable, but naturally I didn't confront her directly about it. Instead, I expressed surprise that she hadn't mentioned it to me herself, to which she had no response. And I found the decision, where her friends' boyfriends were invited but not her cousins' boyfriends, quite bizarre. Eventually she confessed. The budget excuse was made up by her mother, as I suspected. The actual reason behind this odd rule was that she didn't like some of her cousins from her other side of the family, who aren't related to me, and their boyfriends. She simply didn't want to see them at the wedding. Her solution was to exclude any family boyfriends, including mine, from the guest list. After this, she did mention her intention to try to make an exception for me. However, she said she would not be able to confirm until a few months have passed. I have no idea why. She literally said, "I'll try to invite him at the last minute." The conversation ended there, with me not really knowing how to feel. We didn't argue, but we weren't as sweet to each other as we usually are. Mind you, I did not tell her I wanted an exception made with me or anything like that. I promise. I would never try to change a guest list. The only thing I complained about was not being told by her directly. Absolutely nothing else. The exception thing was only her doing, not mine. The relatives who told me I was ruining the wedding by complaining have not apologized or talked to me about the issue yet, and I don't really think they will. I'm at a loss for how to feel about all this. I think there were far more tactful ways to handle the situation. I can't even decide if this revelation makes things better or worse, lol. Anyway, thank you very much for your help. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. OP, I'm sorry you are being stressed out, but let me explain it. In 4 years, your cousin has not shown enough interest in your committed significant other to go out of her way to meet him. She's not interested in meeting him at her wedding. I seriously doubt that she is interested in her and her hubby ever traveling with you and your SO. You do not have the close relationship with your cousin that you thought you had. She did not handle it at all well how she or her mother communicated with you. She's a coward. She sounds like the kind of person who goes along to get along and just nodded when you made plans for the future instead of saying, "No, I don't think so, I'm not interested." Maybe she even made minimal contribution to ideas for travel but wasn't sincere. You can either go to the wedding without your boyfriend and make nice with your relatives, or you can stay home with your boyfriend. Even if she were to offer him a seat at some late date because someone else canceled, my suggestion would be to say, "Thanks anyway, boyfriend made other plans with one of his friends." OP. Yep, I 100% agree with every word you said. It's a shock, but it is what it is. I agree, if my boyfriend gets a last-minute invitation, he will probably refuse it. Thank you very much for your answer. That's a pretty tricky spot to be in, one, going to a wedding where you have to pay for your own food and everybody thinks you're ruining it and you can't bring your significant other and you have to bring a money gift on top of it. Isn't, exactly a wedding I'd fight for, but nevertheless, it's always hard when you overestimate the strength of a relationship. Not that that's exactly what's happening here. They sound like it sounds like they are close, but when you were younger, this might just be a me thing, but I kept having friends where I would be like, "Hey man, this is my best friend. You're my best friend." And they go, "Uh-huh, but I'm, not yours." So I was never the best friend to somebody else, but everyone else was always my best friend. So it definitely sucks when you think that you have a stronger or a deeper, more profound relationship than you do. And it sucks, especially if that is what's happening. She's like, "We're going to travel the world and we're going to do this and that." And she's like, "Yeah, maybe, of course, if, I even like you by then." So what's best always is just a little bit of communication and, maybe just stand your ground. If you're going to wait until the very last second to invite, me and my boyfriend, who are supposed to be very, very important to you, like you've said, then we're going to wait until the very last second to say, "No, thank you." And maybe that's a little bit petty. I don't know. It's a sucky situation regardless. I will say, though, in terms of speaking up, it's not like she was announcing it at the wedding going, "I can't believe you're not letting my boyfriend come." Like, she was just like, "Hey, isn't this weird that, all her friends and their boyfriends get to come, but now this person that I've been trying to introduce to her for years isn't allowed to?" Like, she says, like, "Isn't this weird?" Like, "Shut up, you're ruining everything. Don't even talk." Like, I don't know. Wedding season's very stressful regardless, but you're definitely not ruining everything, especially if you're not even saying it like at the rehearsal of the, like, I don't think there's any tension or stress being thrown around. But I've never thrown a wedding, so if that's ruining the wedding, then I do apologize. Story 4. My female, age 32, husband's, male, 32, new female friend sent a text that gave me the ick, and I'm questioning her intentions. Am I being silly? So I'll start by saying I'm generally quite a secure person and have never felt like I had any issues around this until I read a message sent to my husband yesterday, and I'm kinda spiraling. Sorry, this may be long. For some backstory, my husband does downhill biking, has done since he was very young, knows his stuff. He's out there every day. Generally rides with the same group of guys, but they mostly stick to weekends. My husband goes out every day of the week, luckily because his job allows him to. If he's out on his own, generally weekdays, and the dogs are free, he'll take the dogs. They love it. So around 6 months ago, he was out in the morning with the dogs and ended up coming home earlier than usual. While he was out, he found this girl who fell off and had badly injured her arm and wrist. As you can imagine, he's done the same numerous times, knew exactly what to do and where to go to get seen quicker. He got her to the car park, packed the dogs and bikes up and took her to the GP, who referred her to hospital, and he came home. All good. Around a week after this, one of the guys he rides with sent him a screenshot of a post on a Facebook group that was made for people specifically who build and maintain the bike trails. It went something like, "I'm looking for someone called insert husband's name here, who helped me last week when I fell and got me to the hospital. He drove a husband's truck and had 3 dogs. Then listed our dogs' names." She had posted in a few groups before being linked to a group for the trail builders who my husband goes out there with. My husband isn't on social media, so he said he could send her his number. She texted him to double check she had the right person. He said it was, and that he was glad she was feeling better and was happy to help. She offered him money or to take him to lunch, which he declined and said again that he was happy to help. They text back and forth every now and then, her initiating, and it's mostly, "Hey, how are you? Hope you're well," etc. Until she starts getting better and can ride again. It turns to, "Hey, we should hit the trails sometime." Now, without tooting his horn for him, he's very good. Used to ride competitively when he was younger. Same with much of the guys he rides with. Most people at the park know who they are, and generally, if they hear them coming, will just get to the side and watch them pass. He tries to decline her offer in a way not to offend her, but there's no way she can keep up with them. There's a section that's just big jumps to practice on. He says maybe next time he's on those, he'll give her a shout and they can meet up there. Eventually that happens and he gives her a few tips, which then turns into her texting him more often about biking, asking for him to tutor her and just general stuff. This goes on for the next couple of months. There seems to be a friendship starting. I've never once had any concerns about this and was quite happy for him to continue, and they do. So yesterday, Monday, he went out with the dogs, and he bumped into her. Said they spoke for a while and went on a cycle with the dogs to wind down before he came home. She started texting him when he got home, and I can see these messages coming through the iPad as I was using it. To be clear, he's not hiding the texts. He openly leaves his phone lying around, no passcode. Lets our daughter play on it. Happy for me to use it. Doesn't get weird or secretive about it in the slightest. He knows the iPad and laptop are linked to his phone and it can be seen by anyone using them. He has never gave me cause for concern. It's her intentions I'm not too sure on at this point. So anyway, the dogs. We have 3 working gun dogs used in the fields regularly, and while they can look like they're running riots down these trails, they are extremely well trained and tuned into whatever my husband is doing, which becomes more apparent when he's not on the trails and they're following, watching his every move. These texts started on about the dogs for a bit, when she sent a text which ended in the following: "Like a slave looking to please their master." Admittedly, I don't care for emojis and texting garb people use nowadays. I don't even know what the smirk face means, frankly, but something about this made me feel icky, and I feel like there's an undertone going on here. He replied, but seemed to ignore that last comment. However, this caused me to think/look back on her communication and feel like I've noticed a few red flags. 1. She always initiates. 2. If she doesn't get a reply, she seems to keep sending messages until he replies. 3. Not once has she ever referenced or acknowledged the fact that he's married or has a family, even when he mentioned that he's been away for my birthday or that he's going to our daughter's dancing show. She'll change the subject as if she's pretending we don't exist or to close down any mention of us. 4. She often makes excuses for them to meet up, one-on-one. I'm sure there's more, but I don't want to scour through every message and feed into this more than I already have, in case it's nothing. But am I crazy for thinking there may be something going on with her? I don't want to bring it up in case it is nothing and I look like I'm being paranoid. It just isn't sitting right. I'm also pregnant and the hormones are doing their thing. Should I say something? Or leave it and monitor this more closely for a bit? Or is this the effect of a 30-something pregnant mom whose husband seems to be aging like a fine wine, and any female he meets doing what he loves being in amazing shape due to the hobby? Relevant comments. User 1. I am kind of like your husband. I do a lot of helping people in a different vein though, and there are a lot of rather lonely and awkward people out there who just keep messaging once they have my contact info, men and women. I think you've handled this with grace, but I think it's totally reasonable for you to have a convo with your husband and just say, "Dude, she's pretty pushy and you're not doing anything wrong, but I'd appreciate it if you shut her down and just tell her that you're not in a position to be a coach and your ride time is focused, so you can't help her." She sounds a little starstruck and needy, but he's not doing anything wrong here, so I wouldn't make it a big hairy deal. OP. Thank you. I just don't want to be a pregger wife who's demanding he blocks women because I'm making things up in my head. User 2. He ran into her while he was out walking his dogs? Was that a planned meeting? Does she live near you? Aw, heck no, that's stalker behavior. He needs to cut her off now. OP. No, the bike park. He was up with the dogs when she spotted them and called one over. Honestly, I have no idea where she lives. I know very little about her other than she's much younger than me. User 3. Totally not on topic, but what are gun dogs? Sounds like your husband is just being nice, but that chick is being scandalous. Sometimes men don't pick up on this stuff, so I'd bring it to his attention and talk about how much you both should handle this psycho disrespectful woman. OP. Hunting dogs. Ours are used weekly for flushing/retrieving. Thank you. I've had enough comments to make me feel confident enough that I'm not being dramatic. We'll be talking to him about it once our daughter's in bed tonight and go from there. Top comments. User 4. It sounds like your husband is uninterested in her and she is pushing boundaries. Tell your husband you feel uncomfortable. He may welcome a chance to strategize how to push her away more clearly. It would probably help if he told her he was busy with his wife and children and not interested in connecting, although he's sure she'll find a group to bike with. He could block her if he feels he needs to. He sounds like a great guy, and congrats on the coming baby. Update: it escalated quickly. So my last post got a lot more responses than I thought it would get. I wasn't going to post an update, but I feel like I owe it to all the people telling me to trust my gut. For those asking why my husband hadn't been more abrupt with her, in a nutshell, he always tries to keep the peace. I downplayed how well known he is in our town. He comes from a well-known family in our area and was a downhill rider in the UCI and features in various YouTube channels. People come here specifically for the bike trails, and typically wherever he goes, there's usually a handful of people who recognize him and want to say hello. It's not a huge town, everyone knows everyone kind of place, and like anyone, he would never want people to come away from any interaction with him with a sour taste in their mouth. After our daughter was in bed, I spoke with my husband, told him my thoughts, and he agreed she was being inappropriate, and that he in no way did or said anything that would indicate he was alright with it. He hoped by ignoring it she would get the hint and leave him be. He didn't want to make things awkward or embarrass anyone and admitted he probably should have said something. So after reading everyone's comments, there were loads of amazing ways people suggested shutting her down, which in hindsight would have been an amazing way to stop her in her tracks. However, he didn't want to ruffle feathers, so we went with we're starting to get ready for the baby and have lots to do / prepare and simply don't have the time or energy to be spent on the bikes or meetups, and he will be unavailable to her for the foreseeable future. Suggestions. He typed it up, handed it to me for my approval, and hit send. Minutes later, his phone pings. I'm in the kitchen, he's in the living room, and I see his eyebrows raise and he just looks at me. I go over and he just hands me the phone. The freaking neck on this girl astounds me. She replied, "Okay, do you think we could meet up quickly tomorrow?" My heart sank, and I knew exactly what that meant. I burst into tears. In my head, this was the start of my world crumbling. My husband tried calming me down and asked me what I'd like him to do. Block her there and then, or ask what she wants to see him for. I wish I just told him to block her, but for some reason I wanted to know more. He replied asking what meeting up would achieve. She just says there's stuff she would like to talk to him about face to face. I felt like I was literally being punched in the chest and being winded at this point. He eventually gets the point across that he is not going to meet with her and drags it out of her. She tells him that at some point feelings started that turned into fantasies and that basically he could do whatever he wanted to her. That I didn't need to know about it and she would be happy to keep it that way. As she put it, our thing. It was more graphic than I'm willing to type. I felt like I was still keeping a level head up until this point, but I lashed out and got very, very angry. Started crying uncontrollably. My body was vibrating with anger. I've barely slept, woke up crying, felt like absolute crap all day today. I've already got in touch with our friends who run these Facebook groups she joined and asked them to remove her and make sure she doesn't join again. My husband replied last night and told me it's sorted and I don't have to worry about her. I didn't see the text he sent, but it's there on the iPad, but I can't bring myself to even open the iMessage app after seeing what I saw. It's not fair that someone thinks they can just do something like that regardless of how it's going to impact an entire family. Currently, I don't want him leaving the house. I don't want him to ever go back to the trails. I don't want the dogs even going up there. The fact she has even touched my dogs makes me sick. So there we are. I still feel like my life's slipping away from me, like someone's trying to steal it. My confidence is shattered. My eyes sting. My head hurts from crying. I don't feel like eating. Don't think I've ever felt as low as I do just now. Husband's trying his best to comfort me, but it will take a while, I guess. He feels very guilty despite me telling him he's done nothing wrong. I can't believe how quickly my life just changed with a stupid text. So, thank you to everyone telling me to believe my gut and everyone else who took the time to comment. Edit. I just want to add I'm not controlling my husband, I'm not holding him hostage. He had to take them out today. The bike park is almost in our back garden. I'm describing how I feel just now, like it's a personal attack on me and my family. And I know this happens all over the world. My eyes were never open to it. This man's baby is about to burst out of my body. I don't feel attractive in any sense of the word right now. I feel I'm well within my rights to be a little distraught after seeing a text from a much younger, much fitter girl describing in graphic details the things she wants my husband to do to her. Relevant comments. User 1. You'll be alright, and honestly take comfort that this is probably a lot of pregnancy hormones and your husband loves the absolute soul out of you. He handled it well, so well a public figure or not, and he's by your side. He's been transparent and upfront and kind. She tried to crash the party and failed miserably. He's all yours, and he wants it to stay that way. I hope you feel better and can do some rationalizing in the meantime. User 2. Your life didn't change, you're fine. If nothing else, life got better because you now know that your husband would rather be loyal to you than carry a secret affair with some hornball side piece. Women pursue married men, men pursue married women. It happens. But your spouse is rock solid. So make sure your actions match your words pertaining to how he did nothing wrong. Good luck with the baby. User 3. Did your life really change because you found out someone wanted to sleep with your husband and would do so despite the fact that he is married and has a family? Do you think she's the only one who would be willing to do that? Do you think there are no men out there who would be willing to sleep with you? Your marriage works because you and your husband made a commitment to one another. That commitment is what your lives together is built upon. It's a promise, really, that you made to each other. And it looks like both you and your husband are committed to keeping that promise. It's only natural that other people will find our partners attractive. They see in our partners the same things that we see in our partners. Some of those people will have no qualms about destroying a marriage or a family if it means they get to satisfy their desires. The only thing that stands in the way of that promise is you and your husband made to each other. The only thing that stands in the way of that is the promise you and your husband made to each other. The only thing that's different now is that you know the name of the one of the people willing to destroy your family for her desires. Your husband seems intent on keeping his promise to you. I really don't think you have anything to worry about. Final update. Hey everyone, my last 2 posts got so much attention and I'm still receiving lots of messages asking what's happened since and if I know what my husband told her. I'm also getting a few messages saying my previous posts are now deleted and can't be seen, but they're still there when I check. Not sure what's going on there. Anyway, an update before I log out of this account. So I had so many people telling me I'm crazy, overreacting, and I need therapy, etc. I get it. I probably was overreacting, but also feel like some people just don't understand the places your head can go when you're heavily pregnant. I know what this girl looks like, and alongside my current self, had no idea why my husband would not take her up on her offer. I've done nothing but compare myself to her and couldn't understand why he would stay with me if he was getting offers like that, even despite my husband making me feel very loved and attractive every day. I convinced myself he found me repulsive and that he would leave me. Madness, I know. But I also had moments of clarity. It's been an emotional few weeks as it is. Did you read the text your husband sent to her? No, I haven't. I ended up deleting the chat from the iPad because I didn't want to see her messages. He told me something along the lines of, I have no idea how or if I gave you the signal that I was looking for something like that, but I can assure you I'm not, and I don't appreciate the attempt to pull my family apart. Delete my number. Don't try to contact me. Do not try to talk to me if you see me out and about. You've caused a great amount of stress to my family and especially my wife, who is expecting very soon and has access to every message you've sent me. Leave me alone. Lots of people commented that I've handled this way better than they would have. Truth be told, I'm constantly seesawing between trying to forget this even happened and texting or calling her myself. But I realize the longer I leave it to do this, the more pathetic I'll look. Trying to take the high road, but I'm not going to lie, this has been extremely hard. I also want to focus on the baby and not this right now. All in though, I feel much better than I did a few days ago. One thing I've taken from this, and how many people also reached out to tell me, is that how amazing my husband really is. I feel like I've taken him for granted after reading some stories people have shared privately. I'm so lucky to share my life with him. So that's it. I didn't plan on making an update again, but I've still been getting so many messages asking the same things. But this will be the last. Thanks for all the responses and the few crazies also sending me horrible messages. I know you're reading this. Take care. OP on if her husband is well known in the biking community in their area and if he has a social media profile and should set up boundaries for personal reasons. OP. So this is something we've actually joked about. He's not a celebrity by any means, but just the area we're in, people come here specifically for biking and he gets recognized a lot. And 99% of the time, it's people from out of town who want to stop and say hi, etc. So there's never really been the worry of any nutter stalking him. And the biking people as a whole seem to be very down-to-earth people who just like being outside. It's never brought up any worries until now. But thank you, we will look into something like this. It's a sickness, let me tell you, some of these people. I don't know what it is or what the psychology is behind people who want what they can't have. It is truly both men and women. They see a married man or men see a married woman. There's something about this unobtainableness that you go, this is what I want because I can't have it. And sometimes, unfortunately, the more you tell them no, the more they want it. It's really messed up. And the fact that she just blatantly ignored it, just casually just walked right past it and sending graphic, explicit things. And Yeah, it felt like her reaction, like if you're looking at it from a normal point, to be like, oh, and I'm freaking out and I can't handle this, is a lot, but you're pregnant. I mean, the amount of thoughts you have, I've never been pregnant, but the amount of thoughts and feelings, and not to mention that she sees a younger, fitter, and in her words, like a more beautiful and put together woman who is willing to satisfy her husband more than she feels that she can. It created a whole new insecurity. And so you wrap all that with all these new hormones and these feelings about just feeling attacked and that someone's trying to steal your family away. Like I can easily see how like emotionally dangerous and emotionally impactful that must have been for her. And a credit to the husband. I mean, holy crap. Like the way she wrote it, he didn't bat an eye. Just loyal with the guy through and through and feeling guilty and willing to do anything to satisfy and make sure his wife is cared for and that he's going to take care of his family. Like that is just a stand-up gentleman altogether. And as sad, as kind of disastrous as the story feels, because it feels like there is a homewrecker on the edge, like someone is trying to attack the family, they have a very beautiful relationship and a beautiful family, and I wish them nothing but the best. And if you're in the biking community, I guess watch out, because there are some people that are trying to, wreck your home. Am I the butthole for falling out of love with my wife after she took a 7-week vacation? I, 32-year-old male, have been married to my wife, 30-year-old female, for 4 years, and we've been together for 8. She is a stay-at-home mom. We have Irish twins, 1-year-old female, 2-year-old male, which was incredibly taxing for my wife. She wanted a solo vacation break for a few weeks where she would travel different states, visit her high school and college friends, go to concerts, and do a lot of fun stuff. She asked if I would be fine with it. Asked if she could make it maybe a couple of weeks shorter, because 7 weeks managing our 2 children alone sounded really daunting, especially since work was also getting taxing recently. I do work remote, at least that worked in my favor. My wife and I discussed for a couple of days, and I ultimately agreed with her that she did deserve a break because of what she has been through the past few years. And so she took her vacation. The first week managing our children alone was extremely difficult, and I did feel like I was losing my mind, but I survived. My sister came over to help me from the second week on. She was honestly a lifesaver, and I will be eternally grateful for her. I never directly asked her to help me, but I guess I indirectly did, because when she video called me at the end of the first week, I basically broke down in tears. So from the second week on, my sister stayed over at my house to help with my children, and a huge burden had been lifted off my shoulders. I also was able to really focus on my work and meet my deadlines. To be brutally honest, I did not miss my wife at all. I was emotionally and mentally relaxed and also had a lot of fun with my children and my sister. I felt a sense of betrayal that my wife had actually gone through with the 7-week vacation. I slowly fell out of love with her. When my wife came back from her vacation, she was super refreshed and recharged, but to be honest, I was a bit indifferent. My wife tried to initiate with me the first night she came back, which I rejected because I said I wasn't feeling it. The subsequent days, I had the same level of indifference in our day-to-day life, and she probably noticed it but didn't say anything. A week later, she asked me why I was like this, and I told her I don't love her anymore. She apologized for taking the 7-week vacation and asked if there was anything she could do to fix it. I told her no. We pretty much went through the motions the next couple of weeks before I finally decided that I wanted a divorce. She seemed devastated when I brought up divorce, which surprised me because I already told her I don't love her anymore. She asked if we could do couples therapy or marriage counseling first before I started looking for a divorce lawyer, and I told her I needed some time to think about it. I spent a few days thinking about it, and I am still leaning towards a divorce because I basically don't love my wife anymore, and I don't think marriage counseling can fix it. Am I the butthole for falling out of love with my wife because she took a 7-week vacation? Update. I woke up this morning, spent an hour reading the comments, and decided that I at least owe it to our children to try couples therapy before considering divorce. I told my wife of my decision, and she was really happy about it. But I also told her I don't expect too much to come out of it because I just don't love her anymore, and wasn't sure if couple counseling would fix that. I want to clarify a couple of things. Money was not an issue. I am lucky to be working in a high-paying, albeit stressful job. It really didn't bother me how much money my wife spent on our trip. The main issue was I was emotionally and mentally overwhelmed managing 2 children while I was also working full-time, albeit remote. My wife was also specifically against daycare for personal reasons. By the end of the first week, I had lost my sanity and basically broke down in tears when my sister video called me. My sister had enough time to come over and help me from the second week on, and she really wanted to because it gave her a purpose in life. She has no plans to be in the workforce, and she is pretty much set in life because of my father's money. I did ask my father to not leave any money behind for me and give everything to my sister because I was already in the workforce and had a good job. Relevant comments. User 1. Did you or the kids have any contact with your wife during this 7-week vacation? OP. She called me 2 times during the entirety of her vacation. That's it? The story just ends here? Okay, so the wife, 7-week vacation, that's pretty egregious. I've never given birth to kids. I've never given birth to twins. But I know plenty of parents who don't leave their spouse for almost 2 months because they're overwhelmed with the children. I think raising kids is a very difficult job. I don't think it should be completely on one person. And I have to assume that he was helping out still. He works at home. And she was a stay-at-home mom. But for her to leave for 2 months was putting it completely on him. I think it was very inconsiderate. I think we don't have all the details, but that's just kind of crazy to be like, well, you know what? These kids are a lot. I gotta dip. I gotta bounce. Go hang out with the high school friends and whatever. Like, I can see how he definitely felt betrayed and be like, where are you? Like, we have a family. We're married. What do you mean? Like, we work together. We're a team. And for her to be like, I'm overwhelmed. I gotta bounce. That's a lot. That feels kind of crappy. On the flip side, he told her, yeah, like that's part of the communication issue is that while she wanted to do that, it's kind of crappy. It's also crappy to not tell someone how you're feeling and be like, yeah, this is not a good idea. I don't like it. I feel a bit betrayed by the fact that you want to do this. Like, just communicate, because she came back and she apologized and it sounded like she missed him and she wanted to be back with him. Again, I don't know if he should have left in the first place, but there was a communication issue and they didn't talk about it and put it together. So then after time went by, he was just feeling more and more indifferent and not caring. And you just gave more time for that to kind of marinate and just crappy. If you loved this girl for however long they've been married, right, that you have kids with them, I think the idea of falling out of love with people is the same way you can go in reverse. Like you can fall back in love with somebody, especially if you have children. Work on it. It's both people are kind of crappy here. I don't think you're the butthole for falling out of love with someone. Like it's not within your control. It's kind of crazy, like how long they've been together and to have kids and have a family. And 7 weeks is the difference. And I guess to add even more so, the wife called him 2 times over all that. Like, there's a lot of communication that they need to be doing. And this story is way too short to try and even really dissect it. I'm doing my best, but there's no way to really give a solution on how you need to proceed in your marriage and your relationship with your family. But at the end of the day, it is entirely about communication and respect. And it sounded like there was neither of that going on here, but I wish him the best. Story 6. My daughter knows nothing about her partner. My daughter, 21-year-old female, started dating her current boyfriend about 2 years ago. She had just broken up with her ex, who she was with for 4 years. So I thought maybe it was a rebound and wasn't too worried about it. But as time went on, the relationship became more serious than I thought it was going to be. My daughter was happier and more energetic, started eating better, and actually started to take care of her health so that she could be better for him. So I wanted to get to know him more, which in my head seemed pretty reasonable since she is my daughter. But when I talked to her boyfriend trying to get to know him better, for whatever reason he was very vague and even seems dismissive about the topic. I thought that maybe he was just shy, so I asked my daughter about it, but she told me that he doesn't really talk about himself a whole lot, and even she didn't know a whole lot about him. Besides his few hobbies, the only thing she really knew about him was that he is either currently serving in or working with the military, travels a lot for his work, speaks at least 4 different languages fluently, grew up without parents as an orphan, and where he lived. And as a mother, the fact that my daughter didn't know much about her partner was an issue for me. He wasn't active on social media or anything, so I couldn't go the old name search route. So when I learned that he was either currently serving or working with the military, I asked my father, a retired vet, to talk to him. But after my father had a conversation with him, he told me that her boyfriend is fine and that I shouldn't overthink it, without any further discussion. In fact, he supports their relationship, and they seem to have become pretty close, spending time together, talking in the garage, going out for drinks and food, watching old movies, and even going shooting together. I feel like I need to know more about him since he is my daughter's partner, but I also don't want to ruin anything because I can tell my daughter is happier with him than she has ever been. I've even considered a PI as an option, feel like that might be a bit overboard. Should I just accept him for now and expect more details later? Or what should I do? Edit. I was never going to hire a PI, I just mentioned it in my post just to show the severity of my worry. And it is possible for a parent to be worried about their child without any other hidden agenda. I was once her age, and all I want for her is to have a better life than mine. Edit 2. I'm 46 years old. I haven't really tried to force him to tell me anything about him to me. I've asked him twice over the years, and both times he just dismissed the topic. For people asking me what languages, I know he speaks English and French because those are the two I speak. My daughter has seen him speak Spanish, and she has mentioned that he has been teaching her German. My father has mentioned that he thinks he might know another language as well. And for everyone saying that he is a guaranteed super top secret government person, I think chances of him being a con man with a secret family halfway across the country is higher than him being Jason Bourne Jr. My daughter has on multiple occasions expressed the discomfort of not knowing much about what he is doing, but she told me she is willing to just accept it and go with it for now. Relevant comments. User 1. So you, 1. Don't trust a secretive military spy sounding dude that you don't know much about. Fair. 2. Don't trust your daughter's judgment at all. So you either didn't raise her to think critically and can't trust her judgment, or you just have a very hard time letting go of control. Problematic. 3. Don't trust your dad? After you went to him for help in the first place? What the heck? OP. It's not that I don't trust her judgment, but the fact that she doesn't even know any basic things about him, such as what school he went to or his middle name. I trust my father, but the reason he simply dismissed it makes me worry more, because I also don't know what my father did in the military, and I barely ever got to see him when I was growing up, because he was busy with his military stuff. OP on needing to learn to accept the facts that she won't know anything about her daughter's boyfriend. OP. I can accept that he doesn't want to tell me anything. The only thing that worries me is that she doesn't even know anything about him. As for those hobbies, she knows that he likes fishing and reading. I also barely ever saw my father when he was in the military because he wasn't allowed to tell us what he was doing. So my father just telling me, he's fine, doesn't put me at much ease. Is it hard to understand that a parent can just be worried about their children without any hidden agenda? User 2. What do you know about him? 1. Does he own a car? Is it decent? How long has he had it? 2. Does he own or rent? Roommates? Pets? If he says he owns, you can easily find out if that is true by calling the assessor's office. Zillow will even tell you when and how much that house sold for. 3. How does he spend his days? Does he see your daughter evenings and weekends? So he might be going to an office during the day? 4. Will he say if he grew up in your town? Will he say if he went to college? 4. What are these languages that he claims to speak? 6. Do you live in a small town or a big city? Would it be easy to find people who might know him? There are a lot of things you can flesh out here that will be big factors in the analysis of whether he is sketchy or might be more legit. OP. He owns 2 cars, and both cars are cars that even makes my husband jealous. 2. I don't know his current living situation, but my daughter told me he lives by himself and has no pets. 3. He is usually with her every weekend and holidays unless he is gone. My daughter told me he likes to read, work out, and watch old movies. 4. No and no, he isn't from our area because we are a pretty small town. All we know about his past is that he didn't have parents. 5. I know he speaks English and French because I speak them. My daughter says he speaks Spanish as well, and he is currently teaching her German. And my father, I think, once mentioned that he thinks he might know another language as well. 6. I live in a decent-sized town, but he lives about 2 hours away. Update. Screw all of you who told me that I'm a narcissistic, nosy helicopter parent. I talked to my daughter last night about my concerns. I told her that I'll always worry about her, even if she does end up hating me or pushing me away. When I told her about my concern about our relationship, I expected her to hang up or get upset at me, but instead she broke down and cried a little bit, because she also sometimes feels those worries. She told me that although he does make her happy, she feels that they haven't really grown any closer or made any progress in the relationship, and the fact that she still didn't know a lot about his life made her overthink and stress herself out. She told me that she had thought maybe that he was cheating on her or something since they didn't have a sexual relationship. My daughter is abstinent, but he showed no real signs of cheating. We talked on the phone for about 3 hours, and she decided that she will invite the boyfriend over to my house this Saturday, and we can ask him to tell us anything he can tell us. We don't plan on forcing him to say anything he can't. At the end of the call, my daughter told me that she loves me and that she is lucky to have a mother like me that worries and cares about her. I also talked to my father and told him that although I love and trust him, I still would like to know more. He wanted to know why, and I told him just in case if the boyfriend is a con man, what are the chances he might be able to BS his way into my father's safe zone? He thought about it for a while and decided that I had a point and that he didn't want to take those chances if there was any. So screw all of you who said that I was being an overbearing, bossy, and controlling mother who will end up getting cut out of my daughter's life, because my daughter thinks I'm perfectly reasonable and she is glad that I care about her. A lot of people on the previous post told me that he could be special forces / operation / SEAL / 3-letter / spy. I honestly feel like if that really was the case, then he should be able to tell us a cover story, or just tell us that he can't talk about it, rather than just dismissing the question awkwardly when it comes up. And he wasn't just doing that to me whenever any member of our family or my daughter asks him a question or something to try to get to know him, he shuts it down. And seriously, life isn't a movie. There's a higher chance of him being a weirdo who is secretly hiding a family halfway across the country than the chances of him being Bond and Bourne's love child. And to the one Redditor who told me that I should try to seduce the boyfriend, no. Just no. Edit. No, it wasn't my plan to interrogate the boyfriend. All I mentioned to her was my discomfort of the fact that she knew so little about him. My daughter was the one who came up with the idea of talking to him about it because she has the right to at least try as his girlfriend. And then she asked me if I wanted to be there just to support her, and I agreed, since I was planning on baking cheesecake for my daughter that day anyway. Edit 2. Some people mentioned that my attitude towards some of the comments changed compared to my first post. That's just because I ignored it at first, but I remember that I could return the same tone and attitude I received from others. And yes, according to some comments, I could definitely be a little bit of a turd, but fortunately for me, my father didn't teach me to be a little turd. Edit 3. I don't know how to make it clear to people that I didn't make my daughter go for abstinence. I wasn't abstinent and neither was my husband, and we aren't involved in any religion or philosophy that promotes abstinence. My daughter decided that she wanted to be abstinent after her middle school sex ed because she didn't want to be a kid with a smaller kid. And no, we aren't in any school district that promotes abstinence to kids. Additional comment from OP. OP, she lives by herself in her apartment with the money she made on her own while going to college she got accepted into, which is paid for by the scholarships she applied for. Even bought herself a car before I could give her her first car. If she wants me there just because she wants me to be there, I don't see that as her not being able to handle herself. She is mature enough to make good life decisions, and one of those decisions was to ask me to be there with her for the conversation. Man, another story that ends on a cliffhanger? I don't even know how this whole thing unfolds. Is the guy actually James Bond? Does he actually have a secret family? Or maybe is he just awkward? Or maybe sometimes they just have a very bad past that maybe they're uncomfortable talking about and they're too awkward to just say, I'm too uncomfortable to talk about it. But 2 years is a long time, I guess, to really not get to know someone at all. But we know that he likes fishing and reading and old movies. Yeah, I don't know. That's tricky. If it was me in a relationship, yes, of course, I would want to know more. If it was me as a parent, it's hard to even put myself in those shoes. And yeah, I would want to know more, I guess. But it's hard because you don't have a right to, and you don't want to be overbearing. But now that the daughter's also I would like to know more about my freaking relationship, then, it's time for an intervention, I guess. Talk to the guy. But very interesting unfolding of the story. I hate that I don't have more information. I hate that I don't know how it ended. 2 people, I guess, asking the question whether or not she was in the wrong for wanting to ask a bunch of questions. I don't think so. I think, especially as a mother and the mother of a daughter, there's a lot of care and worry, and you just want to make sure that she's being safe and not being taken advantage of. And, she saw a lot of great things in her daughter. She was eating healthier and being healthier. There was just happier and more excited. And those are great qualities to have. But I think any sort of drastic change you see in your kids, you'd be like, okay, well, I definitely need to know who this person is that's making these changes. There's just skepticism comes even with good things. You just have to kind of wonder and worry. The PI might have been pretty crazy, I guess. But, it's hard. It's hard to always comment as a parent on what would be right. But I guess if I'm going to put myself in my shoes, okay, and I wear them quite often, if I was in a relationship with a girl and I didn't know anything about her really for over 2 years, one, I guess I would have left. If I couldn't get anything, I'd probably wouldn't be in the relationship anymore. 2, if I still was in that relationship and my parents were asking loads of questions and trying to be like, we need to know more about her. You don't know anything about her. Why would you even be in this relationship? I would definitely be a little bit concerned about why they were asking so much, but I think I'm also of the mindset that I try to play both sides emotionally and like look where they're coming from. Like, I don't think that my parents would be trying to be douchebags. Like, they just generally I'd be like, hey, we're looking out for you and we want to know more. So, all in all, I don't think anyone's really the problem here. I think there is just an awkward discussion that needs to be had, and unfortunately, we don't have the update to hear how it went. So until then, I guess ask your significant other questions, good questions, like whether or not she's subscribed.